Some context. I've been DMing for 15 years since I was in middle school. I'm not the most amazing DM, but I can run a game everyone at my table typically enjoys. My friends 90% enjoy hard crunch combat systems and treat tabletop gaming like a video game. I'm fine with this. I love me some convoluted boss fights and puzzles that only hold up if you apply video game logic to why they exist. They rarely do first-person roleplay and typically use third-person descriptive RP. The story. My wife and I moved to a new city, had no friends, and decided to start a Pathfinder meetup and make a group. Got some bites and end up with 4 other players. James, a bit of a power gamer, story for another time. Rolf and Susan, couple. Rolf was kind of annoying to Susan about her play choices, but she was really nice. And Megan, the role player in question. James, Rolf, and Susan all had competent characters and could hit pretty hard. To compensate, I made the bosses a bit chunkier and added more complexity to force them out of aquatic sphere, create pit, wail on the bad guy spam. Megan, on the other hand, played a cleric and did so poorly. This would have been fine in a less experienced group, but everyone else was interested in being good at combat, and so Megan started to feel like she was not contributing. Which is fair, and I picked up on it after a couple games and gave her some tips on how to make her combat more meaningful. Precast long-duration buffs. Don't bother buffing the dude that is close to doing the 10d6 damage per round. Use control spells and take some damage abilities to get to roll dice more often. Once this issue was mostly resolved and she was getting more comfortable, she tried to convince the table to only talk in character, and that a hand gesture was needed for out-of-character talk. I shot this down because I really don't enjoy forced role-playing, and everyone else agreed. After 6 or 7 games, she needed a ride to and from our house one day, so my wife offered to drive her. The entire car ride back, she bitched about me to my wife about how I'm such a terrible DM, her actual words, not hyperbole, because I do not enforce role-playing, and about how my combat encounters are too hard for her, and how she wants the option to talk her way out of everything, even though the rest of the party really does not want that solution to the BBEG. Needless to say, she was not invited back. Had she approached it like, "Hey, this is what I find most fun in RPGs. Can we make more X, Y, and Z?" I have been fully on board to mix it up, but her literally telling my wife how bad of a DM I was pissed. It pissed me and my wife off. She also semi-traumatized my cat by trying to force her to love her, and I like to think that she's responsible for my cat's development of overstim behavior. Poor kitty. This happened a few years ago. Our party was in a tavern having a good time, as D&D parties do. My elf sorcerer with low charisma is drunk and high on fantasy cocaine. I say to the DM, "He desperately flirts with people before giving up and going to bed." Then my DM says something he rarely ever says. "No, he actually succeeds." He then goes on to explain that a woman in the tavern waits for my character to pass out before dragging him upstairs and having her way with him, and he is too drunk to even notice. The entire table thinks this is a very strange and uncomfortable plot hook, up until my DM asks me, "Do you want to know what she looks like?" I begrudgingly ask, "What?" He then goes on to describe in excruciating detail my real-life ex-girlfriend, who I had just broken up with a few weeks earlier, even calling her out by name. I have no clue why he had this happen other than he and my ex were friends. I look at the table stunned and ask if he is joking. He says no, she is a real NPC, so I ask to leave the tavern. He says no, you wake up and she's gone. We keep playing normally for a bit, but I was still really uncomfortable. After the game, I told him it was really uncool, and if he brings it up again, I did not want to play anymore. We continued the campaign for a while longer with no other problems. I still think it's the strangest thing I've ever had a DM do to me out of nowhere. Cue beginning of summer, around May, me and some friends are at a park when me and DM make a joke retaining to D&D, and we soon learn everyone wants to try their hand at a campaign or two. DM says for everyone to make an overpowered character, stats being 18, 18, 16, 14, 14, and 12. Everyone will also be getting a good relic. Cast, me, Moon Druid Elf, DM, truly broken anime protagonist, Cass, fighter with Sword of Mad. We begin the first few settings, going good. Everyone having fun. Dice rolls are not shit, but not exactly a set story yet, foreshadowing to say the least. And we are sent on a quest to go through a tomb. Thereafter, a scripted character death by Cass and me surviving 2 fingers of death. Back to back, Cass is resurrected by DM's anime waifu, Shara Greenwood for those curious, and literally goes full nice guy to protect her. For an example, Cass picked her up whenever she passed out, and DM nearly went and had his character attack Cass because he should have let him save her. We then leave the tomb and start tavernscene.exe. Now, a good thing to know before I continue this campaign is riddled by PC deaths. First meeting, 2 people died, but rolled nat 20s on both playing a song for God and just straight praying while at the Golden Gates. My PC for Dice Has Chosen reasons has died a total of 7, but in-game truly only 6 for the 9 death max counter. He installed that after death 4. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of tavern encounters, so I just go to the bar and order a drink, pet my ghost dog, item, and before I can return to my room, I am sucked into a 3-hour session of admittedly shitty rolls, but unwarranted character locking that ends up with my character being called a pedophile. A little girl could not find parents. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, so I said I would buy her a room. This N had a unwritten rule that if you, a guy, a lady, a room, you're planning on doing the do. And I was thrown in jail to nearly get raped when I went to sleep in real life. After that, the sister of the girl reported me to the guard on account of pedophilia, and I was then stabbed by Darth Vader and nearly died. What ensued was the next 4 hours of me sitting there watching Cass and another PC getting stomped by an impossible encounter. Think Pope fight from Shield Hero, where I also died in because I was struck by a rock when I asked a question that interrupted the DM. When we arrive to the next kingdom, me in chains and my armor ruined, and we are stopped by yet again another anime reference. The slave trader from Shield Hero offers me 400 play for the people inside of the carriage I've been dragged behind. It is admittedly not my proudest moment, but after being dragged literally for 4 in-game days by the people in said carriage, and never actually being given money by DM, my character accepts. Before the next turn, my character is dropped to 1 by DMPC because unwittingly I sold his anime waifu. Days pass, and after learning we cannot let the kingdom fall by a goddess, we're going to get the title soon, I promise. He immediately goes back on that decision and sends us to a new kingdom because the BBEG comes through with his moving war castle that destroys instantly. Earlier this session, I might add, my character touched a book that, while it did just take a 9th level called Lightning, was still standing and got insta-killed because it contained all the power of the 9 realms in it from continually opening a portal. 3 hours later of the DM telling me how my PC has been unhelpful and useless to the campaign, and not to make this any longer, but I tried to make my character interesting, especially with my artifact, but every time I come up with something is either shot down by DM or added a negative. We finally get back on track. We then enter the next kingdom, which we are asked to take down from the inside for plot reasons, actually his reasoning for half of the things we question, and while attending a school. Yes, school arc of an anime type beat. We are also seemed out of jobs. I am apparently the only druid ever seen up here on the floating kingdom, so the circus comes and asks me to be the ringleader. I accept, and meeting ends. Now for the title, as I could not make it to the meeting because in real life reasons that everyone is aware of, I am randomly called by DM, asked if I could make a strength saving throw. I told him I did not have my dice with me and asked why. His response was, "Do not worry about it, and that we'll just have to have someone roll for me." Later that night, the joke of my character being raped by both a bear and an elephant comes to my attention because they took a 3-month time skip and did not know what to do with my character. After 2 hours of explaining how that was fucked up and I was not comfortable with it, DM decides to not go with the joke. Yes, it was going to be canon until I pleaded with them, and then someone said I was instead now on the run from the circus due to making them out of business for doing all the things they could do and making them irrelevant. So now my character is on the run from the circus and did not get paid at all. I know this was long, but I do have another campaign to go to now being run by Cass, and I say gladly that he is doing an absurdly better job. Thanks for listening to this rant because I needed it.